You are about to listen to the second part of our discussion with Nelio Leone, former head of marketing at Careem, head of growth at Washman, and founder of growth marketing agency Urban Monks. In part one of the podcast, we talked about his journey, leaping from the corporate to the startup life, joining Careem in their early days, learning to master the growth marketing playbook, and, of course, the story behind the famous slingshot video retweeted by Elon Musk. If you haven't had the opportunity to listen to it yet, the link is in the show notes. In part 2 of the podcast, we focused on Urban Monks, how Nelio is bridging brand storytelling with hardcore performance marketing, and how the marketing field has evolved over the last few years to become a very technical, cross-disciplinary approach to demand generation.
Brought to you by Scopernia, this is the Future Club, the podcast that uncovers how leaders future-proof their businesses. Here's your host, Jeremy.
Now let's talk about Urban Monks. So you started Urban Monks in March 2019. Just explain us in 30 seconds what is Urban Monks? What do you do with your agency?
So Urban Monks started from a very simple market insight of when I was head of growth at Washman or head of brand at Careem. Basically, like there's no agencies out there that really would understand these tech businesses. Either they were like those BBD or Leo Burnett, etc., which is like very very creative and very good at executing creativity, but not very good in understanding the business. On the other side, you would have like performance marketing agencies that would be like all about CPA, CPC, like the ratio, but then they would miss the point on branding, on understanding the importance of the vision of the founder, on not understanding the storytelling. So Urban Monks started really on that phase. It's like, hey, how can we leverage marketing expertise to combine what we call like the growth marketing T-shape. Growth marketing T-shape is like it's a multi-faceted like set of skills that basically combine from data science to analytics to coding to performance marketing to persuasion techniques to copywriting to you name it, to event management. So it's a very new way of seeing marketing. And then I said, why don't we combine that T-shaped marketing and then do something? We combine that with brand and storytelling. And that's when the insight really clicked with the market, because then there's very few companies very few agencies out there that you can call them to really help you build a comprehensive growth engine. Urban Monks is the first agency, the first growth marketing agency that really combines the two, branding and storytelling, bridging with performance marketing.
And so at what point did you think, or did you believe it was the right time for you to stop working to grow other business and to start working on your own business?
Basically, when I realized that I really knew the playbook. So once I figured out the playbook, then I was like, man, why would I even, I don't know. It's like, imagine you're in a company that, I don't know, like that does something, but then you understand how to do it yourself, then it doesn't make business sense. Like it doesn't make sense of your time. It doesn't make sense in terms of opportunity. Why, From my perspective of tech companies and it's like especially in the tech industry and disruptive industry, marketing has become like a very tangible skill. Like it's very technical. And it's technical in both the understanding of performance marketing, the back end of the Facebook ads, how to advertise and reach customers, but also very technical on how to craft the messaging and visuals that really work. And like the whole thing became extremely technical. So it's the same thing. Like back in the days when you had like a small apprentice going and learning from a chef. Well, once the apprentice knows enough, why would it be always the la petite main? Why would it be the guy always cutting the carrots? Then you're like, man, now I know how to do a boeuf bourguignon? Why am I here just cutting a carrot? What the man? What am I doing with my life?
And why the name Urban Monks? Where does it come from?
Very good question. It actually comes from my wife. So when I came back from Bali, so I regularly used to go like to South, like to South Asia, and I came back from one of my trip in Bali because there was a big retreat of drop shippers with Anton Crowley. Amazing course, by the way. I totally recommend it. Where basically they would do like an annual drop shipping retreat where you have all the best drop shippers of their ecosystem. And for those who don't know what drop shipping is, it's back then, like a couple of years ago, was still like kind of big. It's basically e-commerce without inventory. So I came back from Bali. I had like my head shaved. I wore like a big, like really cool necklace, and you're like kind of dressed like you're dressed in Bali. And then a friend of mine was like, "Man, you look like a monk." And my wife's like, "An urban monk." So, oh, by the way, that's how you should, name the company. And then that name's kind of stick because it really kind of like was very essential because in order to become very good at this new way of doing marketing, you need to really become like a sort of monk, meaning that you need to geek out so much on technical elements, understanding like so many different things, and you need to learn so much that it becomes a devotion to a discipline. And that's how you become good at something. It's like you're devoted to that discipline. And that's how everyone that we work with, like all the people in our team, and that's why we're a very lean team, but everybody is like one of the top 50 growth experts in the growth scene right now. So we only take that sort of caliber of people that are obsessed and that want to turn their craft into a form of art, whether it's product analytics or it's copywriting. Like this is the kind of people I personally want to work with. So that's why I created this company.
You call yourself a full stack marketeer. You consider yourself a full stack marketeer, and I'm referring to this because there was a discussion a couple of weeks back. You posted something on LinkedIn, growth marketeer versus full stack marketeer. There were lots of engagement on that post. I think more than 70 comments. Lots of discussions from experts or people in the marketing scene agreeing or disagreeing with it. So I wanted to discuss that with you. So what is the difference to you between growth marketing and being a full stack marketeer, and why do you consider yourself one or the other?
Okay, I'll just tell you that first of all, like all these naming conventions, they're all like, there's no growth hacker, growth marketer, full stack marketer, performance marketer. They're pretty much like a bunch of all like the same crowd. Then someone is like, likes to brand themselves a bit better, whatever. But it's like a whole whatever thing. In essence, why I decided to just like label myself a full stack marketer is because I started really disliking the coin term growth hacker. So growth hacking was like really the initial interpretation of growth hacking is extremely cool. Like and I know Sean Ellis, like I met him a couple of times and regularly engage with him. Is basically he is the guy that coined the term growth hacker back, I think, like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, whatever that is. And it was like when it was at Dropbox, and it's because they tried to hire like marketeers and nobody could do his job. So he could not be replaceable because all the marketeers that they were hiring, they were all coming with like marketing plans and, like whatever, all these kind of very outdated technique. And nobody had that both soft and technical expertise and nobody really had one specific North Star metric that was growth of the company. Everybody had like awareness and let's build a brand and let's make some noise and whatever, but nobody had that mentality of combining engineering, product, analytics, marketing, messaging, copywriting, advertising all together. So, so we coined this term growth hacker, which really grew of popularity a lot in the startup community, in the tech community. And then I think a couple of years ago, it's just like drop shipping. Everybody started doing drop shipping, or everybody was a drop shipper and everybody was a growth hacker. And so it became like horrible to an extent where one day I just saw this guy that is a growth hacker. I was like, growth hacker? Like, growth hacking, either you come growth hacking from analytics from product, or you growth hack a channel. But he said, no, I'm a growth hacker because I help companies growth. And he was like a sales guy. Like he was just like literally a sales guy in retail, going like almost door to door and say, yeah, but I'm a growth hacker. And that's when it attracted, that name convention attracted like a lot of unskilled people that literally killed the whole, the beauty of growth hacking, which is something like, growth marketing, then growth hacking, then that turned into growth marketing. That was extremely awesome because of that multi-faced, like cross-disciplinary approach to demand generation. So you need to understand analytics, you need to understand conversion frameworks, you need to understand persuasion, you need to understand urgency triggers, you need to understand, like, it's very technical, and it requires like a lot of self-education. And yeah, so seeing that all these like people that were clueless, we started like calling growth hackers. Then I said, you know what is there? Growth marketing? Okay. Full stack? Okay, whatever. Like, then call me whatever. I'm just like, I think it's just modern marketing at the end of the day, because this is how marketing now works.
I like that. I like the fact that you're labeling it more modern marketing, because I really, really believe that there is a huge difference in that the marketing field has evolved tremendously in the last, we can even say in the last 40 years, 50 years. I'm really passionate about commercials and marketing from the 60s and 70s. When you see it, it's so blunt, it's so basic. You just need to get one advertisement and you say what your product does, and that was marketing at the time. You know, maybe a great ad, a great copy, one sentence, and that was it. And today it's so complex and so different that the marketing field has totally evolved. I really like the fact that you're considering it's modern marketing instead of combining all of the different terms that you hear today that are coming from everywhere.
No, totally. And I totally agree with you. I mean, it's that's the essence. And if you see right now, I can tell you, these multi-million, billion-dollar companies like Procter and Gamble, like L'Oreal, like you name it, Unilever, etc. They still have like a fair understanding of the consumer market, but they lost that advantage. They're not the one getting consumer market anymore. The consumer market now, it's owned by people like Jeffree Star, like Gymshark, like brands like Gymshark, brands that, they start from a whole different generation, and then they're direct to consumer, because now most of the marketing, most of the conversions that are happening, and they're happening really fast, it's that direct access to the consumer. You own the consumer market as much as you understand consumer behavior, not retail behavior. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, totally. And then at the same time, not all of those business models, the D2C business models, not all of them work. We see a lot of them
failing,
that have failed, and some of them that have really scaled very fast, have attracted a lot of venture capital, have grown to even to unicorn status, and then at some point realizing, okay, they are not able to turn a profit out of that business. So it's growing revenues, growing revenues, but spending so much on the other side of the balance that they're unprofitable. So some of those models fail. And I think that's also what is I'm not going to say scaring, but what is keeping the large companies at bay is like their business model is relatively safe in terms of generating profits. You build a product, you sell it to a retail chain, it's everywhere in the country. And all right, you're not going to make a huge profit out of it, and you're not going to be number one in the market, but you're still going to make money when compared to D2C, where you can really have a failed model.
Yeah, of course. I'm not saying the one that is most successful. I'm saying the ones that understand consumer market better.
Yeah,
the two things are completely different. Because because you spend so much in direct to consumer advertising, that's market research, and it's customer centricity right there. And because you went bust, because you started like spending so much on consumer to understand them and to acquire them, then that gives you builds the infrastructure to whatever you're going to do next. You're going to have like a much detailed and deeper knowledge on the consumer market, rather than someone that stays safe into their historical position and only deals with retailers. And that is basically a collusion between retailers and manufacturers. And when there's no customers buying, you see, or when there is customers buying, but I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just saying the ones that right now really understand consumer markets are generally the ones that have a direct to consumer model. Because the only way to understand a consumer, it's to talk directly to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are the most customer centric. Then yeah, I agree with you. Is it more profitable? Is it less profitable? Really depends. D2C comes from two things. There's a lot of as well of that VC venture capitalist mentality that it's based on growth. Up until today, Careem, Uber, it's not a profitable business. Like there's no path. Like there's a clear path to profitability, but it's still not profitable. And yet they had like an IPO, and yet they had like you. So what I'm just saying is that profitability is just one part of the picture. What is the other side of the picture, and why all these D2C companies failed, and you see like those, and like also a model like WeWork, and then those D2C very e-commerce based companies fail, is because of one thing, which is unit economics. That venture capitalist gig, jet fuel, cannot keep them running for too long before the unit economics catch up. That's the only thing.
Back to Urban Monks, how do you serve your clients? So you have a client, how do you serve them usually?
So it starts in different phases. We have like a first phase that is called the ignition phase, where basically we only work in understanding your business, because we don't believe in vanilla marketing solution. We don't believe like, oh, we're going to start your ads in 2 weeks, and let's just, okay, give me a couple of creatives. We'll just create a landing page. Let's start. Like, I think right now what is very important, at least for us, is to really go deeply and understand deeply the business model, and to be able to provide founders and provide marketers, founders, head of growth with a partner that has like the depth of thinking on your business of a C-suite individual, like a CMO, or like that has an investor perspective, that people for like, that we can both learn from the interaction. And all the people that are involved, so there's the first month that it's only going to be ignition and design. So we're going to understand everything about your business, your ops, your how you structure your team, HR, so all sort of different insights. And then by the end of these initial 30 days, we've spent so much time with you and your team that then in the last 10 days, we start designing what is the growth engine. We're not going to tell you from day one, oh, you need social media marketing. Doesn't mean anything, because maybe your business doesn't grow. It's the model of growth, the growth engine is not based on social media, because that's not where your customers made consideration or decision. It's just like purely awareness that, doesn't convert to anything.
Yeah.
Whereas some other businesses, well, you need a super strong personal branding or whatever, and that's how you're going to attract customers. So we're going to invest everything in social media. So it really like, and that's why we don't have one solution. We have generally like, we test like 7 different growth playbook, 7 different growth engine. And within that 7 growth engine, then there are like limitless small combinations.
Can you give me an example of a successful project that you did recently?
Yeah, definitely. So generally, like we only take projects that are highly innovative, disruptive, or that have like a super meaningful story. We took this project because it was backed by Techstars, and basically they came up with a device that with a small pump level, you can pretty much turn seawater into fresh water wherever you are. And it's a portable device. It's small like this, so it's small like the size of an iron. And basically, when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, this is just like insane. So I love the product. And we did like the first Indiegogo campaign. And it was so successful that it got funded, like 800% funded. And basically we saw the ROAS on our advertising effort on all of that by 6x. So basically for every dollar, and this at scale. So we're talking like they spend like a significant amount in building like awareness, driving that, in growth, that they had like a significant budget, and we pretty much 7x that in 3 months. Yeah, 3-4 months.
Wow. And now a question about leadership. How different is it for you to lead your own company now versus working for someone else all of the years before?
Very interesting question. I'll be very honest. For me, dealing with someone on top of my head, that always feels this really weird father or mother relationship, where basically you have to tell them what you're doing, or they need to approve you, or you can't go on vacation if you don't ask them, or all of that. Oh my God, I just so for me, the whole concept of urban monks started really as a response to that. Is that I don't want to have, like, I'm an adult. I don't want to have anyone, like, that has to validate my vacations. I don't want anyone to, where I have an idea, I have to run it through that person, and that person, you need to make sure that that person feels it's their idea as well. Otherwise, you can't really run with it. Otherwise, then they're going to feel that you're competing with them, and then they're going to feel overshadowed. It's like all of that relationship for me, it's like hierarchical relationship. For me, it's complete bullshit. I don't think it's modern anymore. I don't know. At least I think it's kind of very outdated. I think now the only structures that where I could really work is where there's like horizontal. So where there's like horizontal leadership, where basically everybody leads in its own expertise. So for me, Urban Monks was a shout, was a cry, almost of despair against that. And I said, like, I'd rather starve myself rather than endure this, and have that sense of freedom and independence, where it's like that is the most basic human right. Like that is not being passionate, and like waking up in the morning and being passionate about going to work. It's not a luxury. It's not a choice. It's your goddamn right.
Yeah.
And I wanted to have that every single day of my life. And this is what I did with Urban Monks. And funny enough, we actually closed the books. So we when we closed the books, we did like some financial analysis, and it's reaping even like much better financial results than any other job could ever give me. So I mean, that is where, yeah, so that is where, but it never came from a financial decision. I never said, oh, I'm going to start my own business because I'm going to make more money. Like, then I started realizing with time that also money would come as a byproduct of it. But like the most important thing for me was to achieve that freedom. We're more like a network of super smart people that love doing amazing work, that are passionate about doing this amazing work. And everybody that joins never joins on, like, we don't have like full-time contracts, etc. Everybody has his own agency, his own gig, his own thing. But because they know the quality of projects that me and my other partner we bring in to the table, they join, and they start working with us. And we only work with like the top people out there.
So what are the next steps now? What is your ultimate ambition with Urban Monks?
So I don't think, so the ultimate ambition with Urban Monks, I don't think, to be honest, that I'm really interested in massively scale the model, even if it's a super scalable model, and it can become easily multi-million-dollar business. It's a numbers game. It's a spreadsheet thing, so it's not just me saying, oh my God, this could. But this is not something I'm really interested in doing. What I'm really interested in doing instead, on the back of Urban Monks, is basically to build an infrastructure to then start building brands.
And what is the next step for you? What do you need next to be able to get there?
So there's different elements, and it's part of an ongoing conversation with the different partners. It's basically, you need people that understand the vision, because it's quite disruptive and it's quite new. So I would say like 80% of people out there, even in the tech community or whatever, they might not recognize the value, which is a good and a bad thing. I mean, it's a good because, of course, then you just interact and attract people that really get it and that, that see this, oh, this is the thing. So I guess the right people, again, getting them together, the right mentors as well. So basically people that have done it already. This is also something that, because reinventing the wheel is never a good thing. So you need people that have already done it or done something similar, or that have knowledge on how to navigate through those waters, because you don't want to be the pioneer. There's a very, very smart guy that once said, never be a pioneers get shot and the settlers get a beautiful villa. So you better be a settler.
So true. It's so true.
So yeah, so you don't want to. So the big challenge that I'm facing right now is that I don't want to be a pioneer. So I'm just trying to de-risk the vision that we're currently cooking in house.
Cool. All right. Thanks a lot. I have 3 more questions to wrap it up that I also ask to all of our guests. The first one is we want to create a library of musical artists of the people we interview. So what is a musical artist that you feel is totally underrated today?
So I think like a really cool band that I really like, it's I don't know if they're underrated though, because they're already like kind of they're kind of known, but I think they don't really get the recognition they should have. It's basically the Parcels.
The Parcels. I've never heard of them.
So yeah, Parcels is an Australian kind of electropop 5-piece band formed in Byron Bay in 2014, and now they're based. I guess now they're based like either in Berlin and Berlin or like whatever in Europe. And yeah, it's you should really listen to it. It's really cool, especially. I'm pretty sure you're very familiar with the electro music in France, so it really captures that vibe. It's really cool. You love it.
Cool. I'll listen to it. And what is the best book that you would recommend?
The best book that I would recommend? Oh my God, there's tons of them. So it's basically I can't find the book in English, but it's the Diary of the White Nile.
Diary of the White Nile.
It's amazing. It's like, oh my God, it's just like, so it's these 2 kids out of, I think, University of College. They decide to take like their old father motorbike, and they go from I read it like more than 5 years ago, but it still sticks, and I don't remember where, but I think they live from either UK or France to all the way down to either South Africa or Kenya, and they go all the way through Sudan and like the Maghreb, and they all do that in motorcycle, and it's actually a real story. So it's like it's the diary of one of these 2 guys.
Yeah, I found it. It's the White Nile, the White Nile Diaries by John
White Nile. There you go. That's the one. Oh my God, this is like, and the beauty of this book, what I really love is like it's so real and so raw. The descriptions are super like, wow, the natural beauty of the Sahara and all of that. Oh my God, and the encounters they have during the trip. I mean, it's a real thing. It's just like amazing.
Awesome. I'll read it as well. Well, I want to say thanks a lot for your time. Thanks a lot for your discussion. Really appreciated it. It was absolutely lovely to discuss with you and hear about your journey, your story, and what you were busy with. So thanks a lot for participating in this.
You're super welcome. Thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure.
That was the end of our discussion with Nelio Leone. We hope you were inspired by his journey and experiences. We will come back very soon with a new guest. Don't hesitate to follow us on Spotify or to subscribe on your favorite podcast streaming platform so you are notified when we make a new upload. This is the Future Club podcast brought to you by Scopernia. Thank you so much for listening.